Hey
Wow,
guys,
that totally. Whoa.
did it blow up? I will fix that, but obviously not today. Raymond, I'm here with my dear friend Glenda, and today we have a very special episode. We're going to be talking about Easter Sunday, a recent movie starring Filipino Americans, headlined by master comedian Joe Coy. Glenda, first off, how are you doing?
I am doing great. I am in the suburbs of New York. It is very dark and hot, and I had to light my whole entire office here weirdly, so I apologize if
No.
it just completely taps out and becomes a trip cave in here, because the last thing that'll probably stay on is the neon thing that's projecting on my ceiling right now. That's basically it.
Wow.
Oh, and yes, I'm not related to Dave Batista.
Yes. Who I have a bone to pick with, even though he is part Filipino in his biography, which is one of the most unintentionally funny things I've read in my life. He said he always considered himself white. He refers to himself as white, but it was convenient when Manny Pacquiao asked him to walk him to the ring. All of a sudden, he was Filipino for that. I won't hold you, Dave. Hopefully you've figured things out now that you're a middle-aged adult. Hopefully you realize you are not white, sir.
Oh, oh, oh.
I'm not going to get catty with Dave, even though he's a horrible wrestler. Wonderful actor, though.
I
I
hear
enjoy his
he's a very nice man. Yes.
Yeah,
I hear he's very nice. He's a guardian of the galaxy. Have some
he is.
respect.
He is. And he's actually done much better as an actor than I ever thought he would. So congratulations to him. Good to have another Filipino man out there.
Was
I could
was great in Blade Runner.
I did not see it. Was he good in it?
What?
Oh,
Oh, so good. Yes, he was great
no.
in Blade Runner. I think for anybody listening in or viewing this lively banter, the reason why I'm not related to Dave Batista and we need to call this out, is that Dave Batista actually was previously married to a Filipino woman named Glenda Batista, who is not
Not
me,
this one.
but not not me. The internet actually does think it is me, and so unfortunately, or at least a content farm, a very prolific content farm in India does. And so whatever, that content farm was actually like, I see similarities between this Glenda Batista based in New York and this rando, first wife of Dave Batista. I'm just going to make this woman his, ex-wife. And so there's commentary about my life and my career all over the internet. If you look
Oh,
up
I'm spreading
Glenda
this.
Batista, there's commentary about let's see, my current husband right now,
You mean your second
and
husband?
no,
That is absolutely. I'm
the
I'm
only
totally.
husband I've been ever married to. But no, it's so sad. It actually is really, really demented, because people will have taken down photographs of my wedding, photographs of my child, photographs of me, in random places across the last 20 to 15 years of my life, and just marry it to the fact that Dave Bautista was once married to a woman named Glenda Batista, and everybody thinks it's me, and that's
I'm going to help spread this.
otherwise I would have had. Well, no, oh my god, no, that would be terrible. Apparently I have two other daughters who are grown women, and I birthed them when I was I don't know, 12.
This is fantastic.
But the internet wants me to be Dave Bautista's ex-wife so bad.
So do I.
But oh no,
But
please no.
I'm
No.
glad you got
I
married.
actually tweeted at him once. I tweeted at him once, and I was like, hey, for all of the dorks out there on the web that think I'm married to Dave Batista, that is not so. At Dave Batista, Filipino pride, loved you in Blade Runner, not your ex-wife. And no, it's just a lie that keeps perpetuating across the web. And
for
that's
the
all I
people
wanted to
that-
clear up.
You were married to a wonderful man named Chris Baker, good friend of mine. You met at my apartment in San Francisco.
Yes, we did.
And I'm glad you found a better husband for the second time. After
Oh,
that was
he's probably downstairs, in the media room, like with the giant TV up, like watching this and like going, oh,
Chris
oh,
Baker's
Ray.
man, he is a better man than Dave Bautista on every level.
He's a wonderful man.
Yes.
He's a stellar human being.
We were not talking about Dave. We're going to talk about Easter Sunday with Joe Coy. This is, as far as I know, the first American movie with a primarily Filipino-American cast. And, just the fact that it exists just blew me away. It was amazing for me to watch and experience. How did it go over with you?
Well, I mean, so I can't claim to be an expert on Joe Coy and his career. I think that it's timely that he has kind of become, or at least taken along, the Filipino-American community on his back. And I think I want to make very clear that this is not the Filipino experience that Joe Coy is bringing to the screen. He's bringing the Filipino-American experience to the screen. And so that, to try to bring that to light, on a very, very big stage is for the Filipino-American community, kind of a big, big step, in visibility. Yeah. Well, I mean, he stands on the shoulders of giants, to be honest, and has become a giant in his own right. He has had a lot of folks, pave the way for him, right? I mean, right. Obviously, Tia Carrere, she's been on the screen for a long time, and yeah. She mentioned that for the first time in her career, she's actually playing somebody who's Filipino. She's actually played, like, in Wayne's World, where right. most people were introduced to Tia Carrere. Right,
where she played.
She was speaking Cantonese, and it's like
not very well, mind you.
No, well,
Rob Lowe actually spoke better Cantonese than she did. Yeah.
Well, I think overall, for me, watching that movie, I was super excited, and I was super excited because, a lot of the jokes that Joe Coy brings in front of these large audiences are so personal for every Filipino.
Yeah.
You have, if your mother isn't chastising you for becoming a lawyer, it's one of your aunties, your titas, or there's always that drunk tito in the corner or something like that with the one-liner, and if you're American, they would simply be referred to as a drunkle. But when you have the tito and he's drunk in the corner, he's just the hype tito. Yeah. So, I thought that it was again, I thought that it was very timely that this movie came out, and I think that it's important for Filipino Americans because it had the backing of, obviously one of the Hollywood guy, and it kind of puts the stamp of approval on our experience, for somebody like that to want to give it the airtime in front of just a very large audience.
And for people that were thinking of that this is a movie for Filipino Americans only, it's really just a family comedy. And some of it, I mean, all of it is just funny in general. Some of the things are particularly funny to Filipino Americans. Like you were talking about the family. You could watch the scenes and be like, I have that uncle. I know exactly who that guy is. And, he has
I have that cousin who tries to get me in a get rich scheme, things like that, Yeah.
I have that cousin too. And whenever I go back to the Philippines, I'm like, it's time for this conversation. It's like, what am I investing?
Like,
Yeah.
Are we gonna talk about the multi-level marketing scheme that you're going to try to like, pull me into because like, like
But
we
you have
can
that
build our
uncle-
Filipino social network and capitalize on it?
You have that uncle that tries to overcompensate for his accent and ends up sounding vaguely like Elvis. So I love that he had that guy in his movie with his Tito Arthur. Just the way his mom and her sister, the way they fought. I'm like, I've been to this party, like where there's this with the Titas, and it was so awesome, like having that be real in a theatrical release. And it was a project that Steven Spielberg wanted after he saw one of Joe's specials. He's like, I want this guy to have a movie, and that's amazing.
So I guess my question is, and I was actually last week I went to my dentist, and my dentist is Filipino. He's actually from the Jacksonville, like, Tampa, like Florida Filipino, like, collective. And so my mom, he's been my dentist since I was a teenager, and my mom actually found him because he was a Filipino dentist. So I've kept him like into adulthood. And one of the things that we were actually like, thinking through was, was there somebody in like Steven Spielberg's family, or is there somebody close to Steven Spielberg that happens to be Filipino? Out of curiosity, does anybody?
This might be racist, but I will assume that one of his nannies was Filipino, and she became
no
family. I don't know.
Well, okay, like, and I went through the track record, okay, and so I'm talking to my dentist, and I basically say, no, like there are comedians with Filipino wives, right? So Robin Williams, his wife Filipino. Dave Chappelle, his wife is also Filipino. Yes. And actually my dentist didn't know that Dave Chappelle's wife was Filipino. She is. And they live in the middle of Ohio, and they must have an interesting Filipino-American experience too. Yeah. So I think overall, I don't know. Again, I don't know if anybody in Steven Spielberg's family is Filipino, or like if the Spielberg's married into, a Filipino family, but I don't know. I thought that was really unreal, the way that like, he just sort of like invested all this, clout into a Filipino-American production.
So you wrote up Tia Carrere before.
Yep.
Another legend of a woman, who's one of the stars of this movie. But when she started out, a lot of people didn't even know that she was Filipino-American because of the role she had. The internet wasn't what it is today, so you couldn't research that kind of thing. And even another one of the stars of the movie, Lou Diamond Phillips, a lot of people think he's Mexican because of La Bamba, or some people think he's Puerto Rican because of Stand and Deliver. But I'm very proud to say he is also Filipino. And, these are guys that we grew up with that a lot of people didn't know. And I think that's wonderful that they're all, I don't want to say that people, I want to say that people are aware of it now. And it's cool that they get to play Filipinos for once, as you mentioned before.
Yep. Well, I think I think I don't know, like Raymond, you and I are like, full grown Filipino adults now, and so when we were, actually like coming up, not only did we have Tia Carrere, in the 90s, but we also had, like, prior to that, there were a bunch of every single Filipino person that you ever encountered, whether they had like an ounce of blood in, or not, right? No, oh wait, if they did, you would, file that in the back of your memory, right? Like Nia Peoples from Fame, like, she's part Filipino, like, right? I mean, like Lea Salonga, she's on Broadway, she's Filipino. Like, there are all of these, like, people in, media and entertainment that we all just kind of filed in the back of our minds. But it wasn't so prominent. And I think it wasn't so prominent their like Filipino heritage like up front. And so again, like what this movie does for Filipino Americans is it puts a lot of that experience front and center. It's not it's again it's a family, it's a movie about a family that is Filipino American, but overall, like these are a lot of people that are people that are bringing that experience to the forefront, and they are playing Filipinos. It's not like, oh, they just happen to be, their background is Filipino American, and like, they're just playing some Asian or like, somebody who's, Latino.
Right.
So again, very important.
And I didn't mean that as a criticism either to Tia Carrere or Lou Diamond Phillips. Totally understand it, especially at that time. They were like 90s actors, and there weren't many roles for people of color in general. So it wouldn't have been wise for either of them to advertise being Filipino instead of just, Tia Carrere she played so many different Asians. She was joking about it on Tiger Belly on Bobby Lee's podcast that she always played Japanese, Korean, Vietnamese, anything with the E's, but rarely Filipino. So for her career, I understand why that wasn't a big part of her identity at that time. And same thing with Lou Diamond Phillips. You wouldn't have, if people knew that Richie Valens was played by a Filipino guy, that would be kind of weird. I mean, he pulled it off. He launched his career, but I bet some people would have had a problem with that. Whether it's right or not, I don't know. Not for me to say. Now,
another.
No, go ahead.
Wait, go ahead. I'm sorry. So I think when you so I'm just going to like get this out there, but every time when you think about Filipinos in music, like Filipinos are nearly synonymous with music. They practically sing the language, like whether it be English or English or whatever, and like everybody's competitive at karaoke. But forms of music, like say let's take heavy metal for example. Like what a surprise that was for Kirk Hammett of Metallica to be part Filipino, right? And so even in genres that aren't typically like Filipino hip hop DJs or like b-boyism, like turntablism, like there's that representation there. I'm sure that Kirk Hammett hasn't had like at length discussion about his Filipino-ness, but I think that again, it kind of speaks to these are all of the small examples that everybody has been cataloging over the course of time, to kind of hope that somebody breaks through and makes our experience mainstream. Raymond, you were saying before I interrupted. I'm sorry.
I'm on another tangent already. So I actually have two Kirk Hammett stories for you. One,
okay.
My brother's actually played piano at his house. I think it was his like daughter's birthday party or something. So
what?
My brother was one of the painters. Yeah. And two, being part Filipino, I was sure that he was going to age the best out of everyone in Metallica. And boy, did I get that one wrong.
Oh, no. No.
Yeah, I understand people all age differently, but I'm like, he has Asian genes. It will preserve him. But I don't know. Hetfield and Lars look pretty much the same. I mean, Hetfield got burned, so you can't really tell. But Kirk looks a bit old.
Well, I mean, he's Kirk MF and Hammett, so it doesn't really matter, does it?
He's awesome. One of my guitar heroes, for sure. So you're talking about the people you've been cataloging. So when you were growing up, who are some of the Filipinos that you remember looking up to and being like, hey, this guy's doing something cool. This girl's doing something cool.
No, I think it was really honestly just, what Nia Peoples, I think, was the first introduction to like somebody who could have possibly been. You have to do the research, right? Like, I don't know.
That time, for sure.
There was no internet back then, right? So you had to go through like teeny bopper magazines or like, articles, like, news articles that you find. And like that's exactly how I found out. And like Fame was huge, when we were much younger. And so for her to be of a mixed background, like you really had to dig in order to find that out, right? It wasn't, and so actually, when I was growing up, I grew up in East Coast Filipino, so the Filipino community, for those folks that don't know, and Raymond is also, natively from New York. It's kind of spread out in three different pockets, and they're not like it's not as prominent as, say, the Little Manila in Los Angeles, or the or Soma, what Soma used to be in San Francisco, right? Like it wasn't like that compact. It was originally like, three different pockets, like one in Queens, which is Woodside, one in Jersey City, and then I believe another pocket in Stuyvesant Town, on the Lower East Side in Manhattan. And those were the three, like, sections where a lot of Filipino immigration like came through. It came through in New York, amazingly. So, or at least those were the well-known places where you would go to get Filipino things and send balikbayan boxes, like, and stuff. So for me, it wasn't as in your face. Like there was no Daly City, California for me. There wasn't any of that. And so you really had to really rely on your parents to build that community for you. In addition to, kind of like, it was really like if your parents built your community for you, you'd have like built-in Filipino friends, which is what I had, right? But I also had my American side, like, to reconcile. I remember this incredibly embarrassing story from when I was much younger. Actually, I'm not proud of it at all, but oh my God, it's so bad. It's so terrible. I'm such a terrible little Filipina. But basically, when I was much younger, went to Catholic school, obviously. Everybody in my school is like Italian and Irish and like, all that, and like maybe some Japanese diplomat kids, that like need to go to a private school, right? And so for me, I'm the only one. I mean, I'm one of two families like in the school with a Filipino-American background, and we obviously know the other Filipino-American family, right? But you'll do something like a white elephant sale or something like that, and they tell you to bring cookies or baked goods or something. And my mom had brought a whole entire tray of banana turon. And I was like, it's mad tasty, right? Yes, exactly. So in comes my mom into like, the gym, like for this white elephant sale with a whole tray of banana turon that she's made. And then all the other moms with their chocolate chip cookies and all of their American baked goods, and maybe at best, like, the fancy Italian mom made cannolis or whatever, and like, rolled it out in the fridge. But overall, I turned to my mom and I said, "What are you doing? Don't embarrass me." Like, and I'm such a jerk. And so basically, like, she puts down the tray of the turon, like completely disregards what I'm saying. That tray is gone. Sold completely through in 15 minutes.
That's awesome.
All the other moms with their chocolate chip cookies, like they're like, I want one of those banana things that your mom has. Does she have any more? And I'm like,
yeah.
Nope,
you can get cookies anytime. Like I've never seen this banana stuff before. It's awesome. Yeah, totally.
Oh my God. So I mean, like, obviously it was very exotic. And so, obviously they gravitated towards that, right? Because they're not from that community. It's something interesting. They can, eat all the chocolate chip cookies like to their heart's content, but this, I've never had this, For me, growing up as a preteen, just trying to fit in, because that's what you do. You try to fit in. You try to, like, not make yourself too much of an outlier, and so you try to blend in because you want to be American. You don't want an accent, like, so you speak a lot of like English. And so for me to go back and think like, who are the Filipino-Americans that, like, I look to, like, say, like, they were doing awesome things, like Kirk Hammett, Nia Peoples, for the most part, right? And then kind of latching onto other Asian communities or other identities that kind of almost felt Filipino, but were just a little bit different. And some of the obviously the East Asian cultures are huge too, right? And so um you when you try to find things that are similar but not but again, it's few and far between. I think when growing up in the 80s in New York as a Filipino. I don't
And
know if
see,
that was your experience as well.
it's exactly my experience, and I think it speaks to why this movie is so powerful and so important, is because we did try to fit in and assimilate, but no matter what, there were people that always made us feel like other. And this movie,
Yep.
seeing a movie with Filipino Americans, it's like, hey, we're part of this too. We're like, this is a family in Daly City. Yeah, they're Filipino Americans, but they're also part of the San Francisco Bay Area in general. So that's why I think this movie is so wonderful, because I hope it shows, especially people like your daughter, my niece, my nephew, that hey, we are not other. Yeah, we all have different backgrounds and stuff, but we're just as American as anyone else that grew up here. And that's not something I always felt growing up. But taking
Yeah.
another step
Yeah.
back, there is someone I do want to give a shout out to, for Asians growing up. This was my guy, Ernie Reyes Jr.
Oh, Ernie, yes.
I mean, he was in The Last Dragon, which is still one of my favorite
Yep.
movies. A lot of people know him from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Surf Ninjas. He had this show with Gil Gerard, who was Buck Rogers before this show, where he somehow adopts this kid. I don't know why, but and Ernie had a tough time as he got older, because all of a sudden he wasn't just like Short Round. He wasn't the cute kid anymore, and getting adult roles was really difficult for him. And only maybe the last 5-10 years, people are acknowledging and respecting what he did as a kid, because it really was remarkable. I mean, he got to act in Red Sonja with Arnold Schwarzenegger, which must have been supremely cool as an 8-year-old or whatever he was at the time. So yeah, this guy was my hero, because it was a kid who looked like me on TV, and I'm like, wow. It's like I didn't know Asians could be on TV. Like, but seeing that, it's just an amazing thing. And now we have Joe.
So like you didn't, and now we have Joe Coy.
Yeah.
I think what's interesting also about this movie in particular is, going to riffing on the East Coast, West Coast thing for a second, like you talking about Daly City,
Yeah.
right? Like, and me actually like detailing, what kind of, the Filipino community like was like, decentralized growing up when you grew up in the New York tri-state area, right? For folks growing up on the West Coast, I'm sure it's very different. For Filipino people growing up in Hawaii, I'm sure also very different, because you are primarily the majority minority, right? And
Yeah.
so it is, you don't feel like too out of place. And I imagine that, a little more comfortable because of the fact that, you're surrounded by people who look very much like you. I remember when I moved to the Bay Area in 2003, I felt less exotic when I moved to the Bay Area, because I was just another Filipino now. And that was really, really strange to me, right? And that being said, I think that there are some nuances in this movie that I don't think East Coast Filipinos, unless you've spent time in the Bay Area, like you would really get, right? I think one of the things they sort of latched onto was the Serramonte Mall. And the Serramonte Mall, just so that everyone, like, people who don't get the Bay Area, like the Serramonte Mall is dead up in the middle of Daly City, which is like, pretty much all Filipino families in Daly City, right?
Yeah.
And the majority. And I think a long time ago, I was writing jokes long on Twitter, right? And so I said something to the effect of, how I couldn't see the Manny Pacquiao fight or whatever. And so that I was headed over to the Target in the Serramonte Mall to like, go because I'm pretty sure that a bunch of folks were working at the Target in Serramonte watching the Manny Pacquiao fight. So I was just gonna go there, like, and everyone's like, you know what? I don't doubt that's the case, and I'm like, exactly.
Makes total sense.
It is the most Filipino mall in America, and that's exactly where you go.
Very much so. For people who might not be familiar with Daly City and also Union City, tons of Filipino people there. And I didn't know that when I moved there. We lived there at the same time. Here's an old photo of when we both lived in San Francisco.
Oh, good God. Oh, hey-oh. When was this? This was, yes, probably just when 2003, I want to say. Because I'm still wearing button-down shirts.
Was this my place?
And wool jackets. Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Oh.
What's that with the? Yeah, no, I'm pretty sure this had to be 2003 for sure. And because I remember that coat and that button down.
That is a pink Tommy Hilfiger shirt that I think I still have, but absolutely does not fit anymore.
Oh, Ray, let it go. Let it go.
I'll just throw this while we're out there. Here's one with
that's 1990 something. Had to be 1996 or 7. I think it's 6. Because I saw Velocity Girl in 1995. So yeah. Oh, by the way, one thing I want to bring up. So Raymond was absolutely instrumental in my kind of like reawakening in terms of just discovering my Filipino-ness and connecting myself with the Filipino community. So I'm just gonna take over your podcast right now. So basically, Raymond is the godfather of the Filipino Students Association at the University at Albany in Albany, New York, which we both attended. Albany, New York is the capital of New York State. So it's upstate, dead up in the middle of, I think, Canada and Manhattan. And so, and Boston and Buffalo, and it's right there. And so Raymond founded that club in 1992. And one of the things that I wanted to that has always impressed me about, and I ended up, many years later, obviously, president of this, Filipino Students Association, which was called Liga Filipina, and which Raymond founded. And so one of the things that I always go back to, this particular club, because I find it interesting that the composition of this club right now is almost not Filipino. And I always found that very interesting. Yes. So I don't know what it says about the Filipino experience in general, but a lot of non-Filipinos relate to the Filipino club. And I don't know why that is. I've never actually done like interviews or any kind of research into like the not only are Filipinos in this, organization, but there are non-Filipinos like that actively participate as members of Liga Filipina in this organization. Like, people who are African American, people who are Latino are in it. People who are Vietnamese, other Southeast Asians, and even some Chinese folks. What is it about the Filipino experience? Right. But what is it about the Filipino experience that, allows for people to, relate to it on that level? Is because are we kind of Mexican? So, and we speak kind of like Spanish? Like, is that why the Latinos are showing up to the club? Or is it because we're brown, right? And our skin is not necessarily like, doesn't necessarily have like, yellow overtones. Is it because we are part of like, some sort of like colorism that sort of exists. You know, when you look at the all of the Asian community groups, right? Are we relatable in that sense? Is it that we're just a mix, right? And we don't really know, like, you know, our very deep histories. Like, it was all taken by us by the Spanish. So does
Right.
that make us, you know, inherently you know, colonized, trying to find, like, you know, what our true histories are through each other. Like, there's something about this club that Raymond founded that is so inherently not Filipino, and it's really beautiful. And I just wanted to, you know, mention that much, because it is something since 1992. I have gone back multiple times, and I'm always incredibly surprised that there are so many people that go, yeah, I'm in Liga Filipina, and like they're not Filipino at all. Like, not in the slightest. But they are so about it, and like they claim it. And everybody is, I think they have like a saying now, which is like they just call it, like, you know, familia, and they all have like jerseys and stuff that say Liga on it, and like they're
Oh,
non-Filipinos wearing Liga jerseys, and they're super into it. But again, that has always been the question mark in my head. Like, what is it about, you know, this particular club that people, you know, just find the Filipino experience, like, and they resonate with it? I don't know. Like,
right. I think it's
I
there are a
just
few
wanted to mention
things.
that.
Some of it is
Okay.
what you said.
As the founder of this of Liga Filipinas, what say you?
As a founder, I have no idea, but I'm going to guess. I think
Okay, do it.
a lot of it are things you touched on, like the shared experience. Any nation that was colonized, you know, we were colonized by the Spanish. They destroyed our artifacts, killed a lot of our culture. And there's a lot of like deeply Catholic Filipinos that are like, yeah, but they gave us God, and I'm like, shut the fuck up. Like I don't know. I don't know what to say to that, Tita. But it is a mix of cultures. There's obviously the Spanish influence. There's Malaysian influence, Chinese influence, in addition to the native culture. And then after
Yeah.
the Spanish, we were basically in Hollywood for 50 years with America. So I think there are so many aspects of Filipino culture that anyone can find something to identify with. That's just a guess. The other
Yeah.
more practical part, when the club was founded, the treasurer was Indian because my roommate was like, hey, Tim, I think I need a treasurer. It says here, like, I need a treasurer. Like, you want to be treasurer, Tim? Like, okay. And the people we were all hanging
That's
out
awesome.
with, all of whom you know were leaders in like the Korean clubs. Tom Chang was a good friend of mine.
Yep.
Will Tong from the what was he, the APA or something? I forgot what his club was called.
No, AAA.
Yes. Okay. Yeah.
Asian American Alliance.
Right. Jane Kim was the Korean Students Association also. Carol Chang was the Chinese Students Association. So we were all hanging out. Like, they all had clubs. I didn't know how to make one, so I was guys. And Matthew Jagoda, who was this Jewish kid from Long Island who only had Asian friends, was also starting at the
There's
same
always
time.
that white kid, right?
Yes.
There's always the white kid that has all the Asian friends. We all have one of those friends. It's like,
That's
oh,
right.
like, here are all of my Asian friends, and then like, boom.
Mine was Matt. Yours was Nick, right?
One of these things is not like the other. What? Yes, Nick. We love Nick. Nick was MVP at my wedding, man.
He owned that dance floor. That was awesome.
He did. He did.
Amazing stuff. But yeah, there was a lot of, the tie was off. There were, I don't know what he was swinging. Maybe it was his jacket, but yeah, Nick owned the dance floor at your wedding. Fantastic. So let's go back to the movie. And were there any performances that stood out to you?
Okay, so amazingly, uh all the I guess like when I think about all the performances, I feel like they're all characters. Actually, the person that I really like kind of glommed onto, Jimmy O Yang, was like absolutely like, every time I look at him, I'm like, he's like Jin Yang from like, Silicon Valley. But like that dude is funny, man. Like
Have you ever
he's
watched
like
this?
like totally deadpan. No, I haven't. I haven't.
Really
I've
good.
read the book. I've read his book though. But like that dude was like, I mean, he was on, and he's also again one of those comedians very supportive. Like, he comes from that background as well, right? Like my parents never wanted me to be a comedian, like what are you going to do? Like he's, the Chinese experience, and so it's not and Joe Coy also has that, whole entire like shtick about like you're going to be a comedian, like,
Yeah.
like haha, Joseph, very funny, and so again, it's like it is something that other cultures can relate to because like again we're all Asian in that way, like we all have parents
Right.
that like have made like quips like that. Jimmy O Yang, I think, I'm glad that he was incredibly supportive in that role. Tiffany, and all of the non-Filipinos like were definitely like very like very standout. Only because again, like their participation in like what was like a Filipino-American movie like
Yeah.
was really sort of like this is what these are what all our friends look like anyway.
Yeah.
Like we don't fit in everywhere, right? Like I chill with this like Chinese guy. He like knows everybody. Blah blah. The antagonist,
Right.
and also he was I believe like South Asian or like Indian, maybe Indian, maybe I think he was Indian, and then also the agent. I
Yeah.
don't know like these names, but like everybody who came to support this cast, I think was standout. I don't know,
The
maybe that's a cop out like answer,
no. The
but
agent
they're
was
all very funny.
he's also the director of the
I'm
movie.
driving through a tunnel.
Yes.
What did you say?
The agent was the director of the movie also, and I've had a lot of those LA phone calls where like, yeah, I'm going through a bridge right now. I'm like, there's no bridges in LA, man. Like, what are you talking about? It's like, Street bridge, that doesn't count.
Hey, I'm heading through a tunnel.
Yeah. Like what tunnel in LA did you just meet? So I think, and this is pure conjecture here, but Bobby Lee was supposed to be in this movie. He's one of my favorite podcasters and comedians. He came up with Joe Coy. They go back way long, like when Joe had hair. So that long ago. And I think he was supposed to have Jimmy O Yang's role, but he couldn't because of conflict. He went off and did a movie based on the video game Borderlands. So he chose that, which it's the right call because he's with like Jamie Lee Curtis, a lot of big actors in the Borderlands movie.
Okay.
So I get it, but he kind of regrets that he couldn't be part of his good friends project. And I would have loved to have seen both of them in the movie because I'm such a fan of both of those guys. They're fantastic.
Some folks I feel like, so I'm gonna kind of like spin off here, but you were going back to like who do you look up to, right? And then you were talking about your niece, your nephew, my daughter, right? And so other than naming my daughter Tala, right, and other than doing the hyphen Baker on my name, I knew that I was marrying into non-Filipino, not Asian at all, family. And so to retain my maiden name was important, And so when my daughter was born, I decided on her name after reading something vaguely Filipino while I was at lunch one day with my colleagues. And I was reading it on my phone and I was like, that's it. That's the name, Tala, right?
Ah,
And I felt like and I didn't have to pitch it. I didn't have to pitch it too hard to Chris, who's my husband, for those people who don't know, because of the fact that Tala has a history in the Marvel in not only a Marvel origin but also a DC origin. So it had a comic book origin, and the Marvel explanation of Tala is closer to what the meaning of her name is, which is the goddess of the star. Tala is the goddess of the Tagalog deity of the stars. She's the goddess of the stars. The name Tala literally means bright star. So both my husband and myself, obviously being Star Wars fans, I mean, we all just kind of felt like it just like sort of smacked us in the face. And that was her name. And she was only like 7 weeks, like, baking in there, baking. And that's basically it. That was her name. So when I think about, when she grows up and like the Filipino things that I want her to retain, obviously I want her to have very good command of like her culture, because like her having a family that's now blended in my husband's like white background and then my Filipino background, like she's going to need to navigate those two universes seamlessly. That's one thing. When I think about who I kind of look to growing up, I'm very hopeful for the generation that's coming behind us, because not only the current millennial generation right now of Filipinos definitely have a lot of musicians that are half Filipino, right? They were also and a lot of them are obviously coming up real fast, on the trail of Apple de App and Bruno Mars, right?
mhm,
Who were obviously like really huge,
yeah.
kind of like towards the tail end of our generation, of our youth, so to speak. um I think that with Olivia Rodrigo and like Haley Steinfeld and her, and
Yeah,
also
her
Sweetie,
smashing it.
um she's amazing, so amazing. I think I'm related to her. That's another story. But overall, I think that in general, like they have a lot of people to look up to. My daughter in particular, and your niece and nephew, they have like Filipinos that actually are functioning as like educators, right? Like
Yeah.
Josh from Blues Clues is amazing. He is amazing. And he makes a mean vegan spaghetti. Not that I've had it, but I mean, I watch all of his like vegan, like his vegan Filipino dish cooking on Instagram, and I think like it's hysterical. But he is like deeply rooted in something that was previously white, and is bringing Filipino culture like into the mainstream as well,
Yeah, that's
right?
awesome.
Because have you ever like I mean, I'm a mom now, right? So my Tala loves Blues Clues. And she knows that Josh is Filipino. She learned to say masarap because that's what Josh's Lola on Blues Clues says about his bibingka, which he's been baking with Blue and like, that whole entire cast. She'll say masarap. And I'm like, where did you learn it from? And it will be because it was Josh's Lola as a character. It's not Josh's grandma, it's Josh's Lola. Lola means grandma in the Philippines. And he'll qualify it, and like she will know that she has a Lola, she has a Lolo. And she's slowly picking up on that. So I think that I don't know, it's really great that they have these actors and actresses and like musicians that like are killing it
Yeah.
and they're not necessarily Filipino, right? So they were just right for the role. They are right for just like like singing the songs that they need to sing, and it just so happens that they're Filipino. It's almost like they're like normalized in some kind of way. And it's not anything that you have to be like, wait, they're just like me. No, there's nothing wrong with you. Like, we do all sorts of things. Sing and dance mainly because we're Filipino. But
As we do.
um
As we do.
yes.
I
Yes.
mean, I was so happy
But
that
yeah,
Carol
no.
karaoke was an important part of Easter Sunday, because karaoke to Filipinos it's such a massive part of who we are.
People don't understand, like, people don't understand like that it is. I was like, I don't think you understand. Like, I had to battle like 56 other cousins for, like, my spot at the mic. Like, and when I get there, I smash it, and I'll be singing again and again and again, and you'll be getting up, and like that's how you get airtime, and that's how you get respect in your family, because you can just, like, knock it out on stage. It is I'm like, I was like, I don't think you guys understand. Like, Filipinos are like karaoke athletes, like just like on the turntables, like, the
It's one of
vocal.
those things that fall under that. That's what we do.
It's very serious. Like, people don't understand. Like,
I had two
it is.
Tala things I wanted to mention. One is a factoid.
Oh,
and one
okay.
is the character in Easter Sunday, Tala, that was a last minute change. Originally, the character was supposed to be Ruth, which is the name of Jo Koy's sister, but I don't know why, but I read that it was changed to Tala pretty late in production. So that is a lovely surprise for your daughter, that she has her name.
It is.
And the second one,
is.
It might be kind of personal, so if you don't want to answer it, that's cool. But well, are you going to introduce Tala to your first husband, Dave?
Actually, so from what I've read about Dave's first wife, Glenda Bautista, he has two daughters, I think. Yeah, right. And I gave birth to them when I was like 11 or 12 years old, because because that's something. I'm not going to get into that, but overall, no, because he's not my husband. He's never been my husband. But the name Tala is having a moment, because obviously also earlier on this year there was Tala Dorith, who was the Jedi sympathizer in Obi-Wan. So I don't know where they pulled that one out, but the name is really, now it's going to be really trendy. Like, everyone's gonna be like, oh, it's like Jennifer, just stop it, everyone.
It's funny. That makes me think of Norm Macdonald, who is one of my favorite comedians ever. He named his son Dylan after Dylan Thomas, and he thought that would be cool because it's an uncommon name. But then all of a sudden, people started naming their kids Dylan after Luke Perry.
Yep.
So, and he's like, "Fuck! Now people are gonna think I named my son after this 90210 guy." So happened.
Well, I think it works well. Again, there are some. I think the only unsavory thing that is Tala related is that Tala is a villainess in the DC universe, and a fairly prominent one at that. I did not, obviously I looked it up and I was like, whatever, it doesn't really matter to me. But yeah, that's the only unsavory thing I can think of that is related to the name. But yes, if it becomes trendy, I won't be surprised.
I wanted to give a shout out to Eugene Cordero here.
Yes,
he plays his Joe's cousin in the movie, who's into these get rich quick schemes. But this guy, if you look him up on IMDb, he's been in so many of my favorite shows, from Silicon Valley to Veep. He has, his list of credits is really impressive. He has a lot of small roles in pretty much everything, and I was so happy to see him get a leading role in a movie. So congrats to Eugene. Hope to see you in more stuff.
So Eugene Cordero, him in part, that this isn't the first time he's played a Filipino character, right?
Right.
You know that?
Yeah.
So he was on, I don't know if anybody watches this, but The Good Place with Ted Danson and Kristen Bell, right? And so I was very surprised actually not see Manny Jacinto somewhere in this movie, right? Because he's also another man of the moment. And so in I was talking about, because remember my dentist who I was talking to last week, he's from Florida, and I was like, there's this whole like, I don't think you understand. You have to watch The Good Place because they have this whole entire thread where, you know, everybody plays like a Filipino family, like based out of Jacksonville and stuff. And it's this whole running joke. Like,
Yeah.
you have to watch it. And I think that I think the application of the Filipino characters in The Good Place was very interesting. And I'm not sure how I feel about it, but somebody had mentioned that Manny Jacinto, I think, or maybe Eugene Cordero, they were playing like they didn't have stereotypical Asian roles. They had dumb Asian roles, you know, and I'm like, did they have to be Filipino if they were dumb Asian? Like, you know, damn it. Oh, you know, and so I'm at odds with the way in which the Filipinos are portrayed in The Good Place. Right. But hey, I mean, whatever.
It's a role in a really popular. It's funny. I got an old Facebook alert, like, you know, how it does your memories from like 10 years ago or whatever. But apparently I was at a party with Kristen Bell, and I'm like, hey, who the hell is Kristen Bell? Someone, apparently she's a big deal and she's at this party. And now and it's so funny because at that time I had no idea who she is, but I find her so attractive. She's talented and beautiful, and apparently she has a really bad temper. All things I find really attractive. Yeah.
She makes diapers with her husband. Yes.
She's married to that really tall, what's his name? Tall, lanky guy that was in Chips. Dax Shepard.
Oh,
I think that's him. Yeah,
I don't know. No, apparently they have a baby. They have a baby line of products or something. I don't know what that's about, and they sell it at Target, like in Daly City, in the Serramonte Mall. No, I don't know. But they do. They have a line of baby products. I'm not going to plug them here or whatever because I don't really know like what it's named or whatever. But yes, that's apparently what they do. So that's apparently what they do.
I have a confession to make. I didn't realize Tia Carrere was playing the auntie until like maybe halfway in the movie. Because in my head, Wayne's World is not that long ago, even though I think it's like 1992 it came out, something like that. So in my head, it still looks more like Cassandra than someone who's a Lola age. And also she had the glasses and the makeup. So, I mean, she's still really beautiful at 55, but I did not recognize her at all because I'm thinking, it's just a Filipino Lola. And then I'm like, wait a minute. Whoa, that's Tia. kind of wigged me out when that happened.
Have you ever listened to what?
Did you know it was her right away, or am I just dumb?
Oh, I knew it was Tia Carrere. Cause like I mean, again, like she's got that, like, you know, the face shape is very
it's really distinct. Yeah.
Yes. And so I don't know, for me, like I was able to tell that it was her. So I had watched like the trailer like a bunch of times and like could place it, you know, so I knew that she had one of the major roles. So yeah, no, it wasn't a surprise to me at all. I think that she has a lot of, I don't know, like, doesn't she have like Grammys or something like that, like under her belt too?
Yeah,
I think she does.
The best Hawaiian,
the world music album, right?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah,
I think it's a world music album. And you know,
we have computers.
yes, we do. We do have computers. And her album came out, I remember, because again, I worked at the college radio station and we had the disc. So it had to have been you know, in the mid 90s. When she put something like that. But yeah, she's also
2 Grammys. Wow.
What?
Yeah.
Does she?
and 3 nominations. Best Hawaiian music album is apparently a category I've never heard of.
What?
Yes.
Really?
Yeah.
I've only heard the world music album. I've never heard the Hawaiian albums from Tia Carrere. But hey.
She has 2 wins and 4 nominations.
Well,
she
that's
won
fantastic.
Best Hawaiian music album for, I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce it because I don't want to insult the Hawaiian people. And
We're all cousins.
This name, yeah. Okay, I'll give it a go. For Huana Ke Aloha. That's how I
Like, we're all cousins.
Yeah. So, wow. Good for her.
Yeah, no, she has. Yes, exactly. And then, yeah, no, I thought the reveal of Lou Diamond Phillips in the movie was
so
hilarious.
It was so good. And I love that his Lola still yelled at him too.
I thought that was so funny. I was like, what? Like, it was really out of, I don't know what that was, but it was really, I don't know, like he's hiding out in the garage, and it almost was like, didn't they have a fog machine going too, because it was Lou Diamond Phillips or something like that? And I was just like, oh wow, it was like almost like gives me like Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure vibes. Like,
absolutely.
I don't like, because like everybody's just like hanging out, like, because in the 80s everybody was like, had a band that was playing in a garage, and that's where you hide out like all the time, like, when you're a teenager. But Lou Diamond Phillips is a grown-ass man, like hanging out in his grandma's garage waiting for to deal down with Pac-Man's gloves. Is that a thing? Who actually owns Pac-Man's gloves?
I'm sure he has them. It's funny, one of the guys that I met, at Vaping Ape, who I've taken you a few times, that vape shop in Hollywood.
Yes.
One of the owners actually worked for Manny. He was part of the entourage and did a bunch of, like, he would drive his wife to the mall and stuff. So, and we used to fuck with him during fight night. And we'd be like, yo, Rolo, is the shop open? I need some juice. And I know he's in Pax's locker room as I'm texting him. It's like, no, man, I'm in Vegas. Oh, yeah? What are you doing in Vegas? It's like, something going on? Like, yeah, Manny's fighting tonight. I'm like, yeah, no shit, Manny's fighting tonight.
LOL.
Yeah. I did have a callback to your mom's to run that I forgot to mention. I remember when my family would have parties for the neighbor, or we'd go to neighborhood parties. We would always bring like a big tray of lumpia, and it would just disappear because that's not something they see every day. And people were like, oh, I love these little egg roll things. What are they called again? And it was always such a big hit at the white people parties. Am I supposed to say that? But yeah, the white people in New York love lumpia.
I mean,
does Chris love lumpia?
Actually, I made earlier. I don't. Chris will eat some lumpia. It's not his fave. He really, not his fave. I mean, obviously, he really digs the pork barbecue on the skewer. Oh,
yeah.
I love that. That is like, a choice thing, particularly if you grow up like, in Texas, like, that's that is the gateway drug right there.
Yeah.
For me, so I made Filipino spaghetti earlier on tonight, and he was like not having it. Like, he was like, I don't understand why it's sweet. Like, I was like, because there's sugar in there. And like, I don't know, whatever. How is that different than like, tomato paste? Like, you have to put sugar to make the, sauce anyway. It's just more sugar though. Like in Filipino spaghetti. He's
Yeah.
like, yeah, I don't like it. I'll make this chicken thing. Like, and just went off to the. But he's like, but for him, it's the pork barbecue on the skewer. That's like
Yeah,
that's the
absolutely.
gateway drug.
That is good.
Chicken adobo is also a big one. I have not been able to make it. But when my mom used to make it, like he would be all over it. He'd go to town. So, he also is a maker of the rice now. He knows how to make rice.
Wow.
He knows how to make rice with the finger.
Finger, yes. That's the only-
Yep.
I love that Joe
Like,
mentioned
you
that.
don't go past this. Don't go past this. This is how you make the rice. Like,
And it's true. It
looks
works.
like
The
yes,
time
exactly. It does work. That's how you know. That's how you don't fuck up the rice. Like, that's one of the first things that you get taught when you're like really young. You have to rinse the rice too. Like, he
Mhm.
forgets to do that. But the rice needs to be rinsed, and then when you put the water in, it can only come up to this part of your fingertip. Has to be the middle finger.
always.
Didn't you learn that, Raymond?
Yeah,
Everybody
it doesn't
did
matter
that.
what size your hands are. It's always the middle. Doesn't matter how
It's always the middle. It's always the first digit of the middle finger.
it just works, and it's true. Don't know how. I'm not
So what?
questioning.
So speaking of like just Filipino just food in general. So
Yeah.
I used to obviously like in college. I my last year I lived in a house and we're all Filipino in the house. And I was the only I was like the girl and then like three Filipino guy roommates. And so I remember distinctly when we were eating at our table, you know, and so we're all sitting there and we're having spam and rice with ketchup. And we all were like this. We're all sitting with our knee up. And is that a Filipino thing? Like, I feel like what is that? Is that like kind of like the Kamayan way of doing things? Like where we're all like squatting and like eating with our hands? What is that?
I
Like
remember
naturally we just all did that.
I remember how you used to squat and smoke in college.
Yes.
And it were impossible to like push over. Like even
I know.
you're like you're
You
there
tried.
smoking. Yeah, and you're like you someone's got to knock her over, but you can't. We all try.
Yeah, it's because I have incredibly powerful legs and a very good sense of balance.
'Cause you
Nobody
were-
knows how to knock me
You
over.
did
when I'm
track
squatting.
in high school, right?
Yes.
Am I doing that correctly?
Yes,
Yeah.
I did. Yes.
Why?
And I think what? Wait, what?
No, I said, and that's why
Did
we
you say
couldn't.
why? Well, there was that, but also my track coach was a global studies teacher or something. And he had
Oh.
mentioned I went to an all-girls school and then the all-boys school was down the street and they were the ones with the track. So we had to go over there to use not only their track, but he also coached not only the boys team, but the girls team were all the, joint varsity team. And I'm sitting there with my hoodie on, squatting, on the track or whatever. And then he just comes over and he goes, boom, like that. Right. And I'm like, what did you do that for? He's like, so in global studies, that's something only Asians know how to do, by the way, like squat like that. Like
It's true.
white people can't do it. Black people cannot do it. Asian people, you guys are preconditioned to be able to squat like that. It's just genetics. And
Yeah,
I'm
I think
like,
it comes from rice farm.
thanks.
In
Does
my
it?
head, I don't
Does
know.
it?
I totally made
Oh,
that.
I have no idea. Okay. Well, anyway, I don't have an explanation for why, Filipinos eat with their knee up. Somebody explain it to me someday.
One day.
But yes,
It'll be on this.
right down to the little nuances in the movie. Obviously the fork,
Mhm.
and the spoon,
And the
right?
Jesus.
Like,
the creepy Jesus.
oh my gosh, oh my gosh. Like the whole entire the Santo Nino. Like, why does it always have to be so creepy? By the way,
Oh,
just
no.
so that everybody, all Filipino families, who are really into Catholicism, they're with the baby Jesus. Every family has a baby Jesus, and it
Mhm.
always I used to skitter by the baby Jesus in the hallway because I would just think it was like watching me all the time. I hated that thing. And when I finally like, put it in a, dumpster, like I felt really guilty. I did. I was cleaning up my mom's room and I was like, what do I do with the baby Jesus? Maybe I'll just walk out to the dumpster and dump the baby Jesus in there because it's too creepy for me to keep around. I just can't do it. Like Mary, wooden Mary statues, no problem. Creepy baby Jesus, problem. I don't want creepy baby Jesus in my house. Like
So
I
put them in the trash?
I still
or
feel
the
guilty.
You didn't
No,
recycle?
in a big giant. Nope, no recycle. No, big dumpster on the out in the driveway. Just
I remember
run away.
one of my uncles in his living room, he had the biggest crucifix replica that I've ever seen in my life. So I would
Why
be like,
is that necessary?
like, and the guy was almost.
Are you like a big Jesus fan?
I think like Jesus was actually like probably like 4 foot tall. So the cross was like 6 feet,
Dude.
7 feet tall. And I mean, I'd be like, hey, Uncle Arthur, Teacher Arthur, is that the cross that Jesus actually died on? Because it's the biggest crucifix I've ever seen outside of a church.
And what did he say?
He laughed.
I had this crucifix when I was training to be a priest, and then one day I wasn't, and I had to keep it, or something to that effect. I don't know, but like, dude, seriously, like the religious artifacts that like just are involved in growing up Filipino is like astounding. And so when by the way, another nuance, like the hiding of the money.
Mm-hmm.
Like, is that, oh my God, so hysterical. Like,
both my parents.
Oh my, yeah, oh, so funny. Like, I was just like, and I just turned to, after the movie, I was basically like, so, and I'm like trying to explain this to Chris. I'm like, so in this movie, they had like, money fall out of the baby Jesus, and like that's totally something Mom would have done. Like, and he just like didn't get it. I was like, I need to discuss this movie with somebody. Help.
Chris was like, your family's insane. Like, what? Jesus,
you're creepy, like you creepy baby Jesus statues, and you're, the like just this like praying the rosary, like at all hours of the night, and the like, and the insane like just things that like you end up doing just because like you're Catholic. I don't like, I have a rough time explaining these things. I really do. I'm like, I don't know, I guess Spanish and stuff. Like, I don't know.
That sounds good.
I was like, I don't know, it's probably tribal.
I thought the character of Tala was just fantastic, and made me so happy for your daughter that she will one day look at this movie and see this kick-ass young Filipino woman who, is keeping it real when Joe's son is kind of being an LA brat. And she
bro, we don't speak to our parents like that.
Yes,
nice.
That was a lot.
So like,
my dude, like, this chick knows what's up.
We don't speak to our parents like that. Oh my God. Yeah, no, I'm glad that that actress was so down. Tiffany Haddish also. That bitch Nessa at dailycity.gov. Great joke. Love that joke. Like all day long. All day long. Just like AOL, but dailycity.gov. That bitch Nessa. I laugh my ass off at that joke forever.
See, I love her role on so many levels. I mean, she killed it in the movie, and she was hilarious as always. But I also love that she was supporting a friend and a colleague that she's known for like 20 plus years. So that's kind of why I wanted Bobby in that movie as well. So hopefully next time, maybe there'll be an Easter Sunday too. Will it be an Easter Sunday too? Or I mean,
oh my God.
Let's be honest. Like this is like a direct to Netflix quality movie, even though as much as I love it and as important as it is, it's it's not a great movie by any means, but it's fun and enjoyable, and I hope people see it. I
Yeah,
mean,
for sure. You, yeah, I don't know. I don't know what it was about the movie. Like it didn't, smack me like across like the face like with a fish or whatever. Like oh,
yeah,
it was amazing. Like, but really really likable. And so uh, I think did an accurate job of kind of painting the Filipino experience. They mentioned or something like they filmed it over 3 weeks. It was like something super quick.
yeah, yeah,
Do you know?
because it was like it was still the tail end of COVID, and they just got approval to start filming in Canada. So I believe it was filmed in Vancouver. So for 3 weeks
Mm-hmm.
they were all like rushed up in Vancouver, and for most of them, this was like the first people outside of their bubble that they were seeing in outside of COVID.
Oh,
So yeah,
I didn't
it
realize
sounds
that.
like yeah they didn't. It wasn't optimal, so maybe that had something to do with it. Maybe it could have been better under normal circumstances, but yeah, given what they had to work with, I'm happy they did as well as they did.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
they
mean, I guess the thing yeah, no, they I feel like I heard them say something like it was something like 3 weeks or less, like
yeah,
beginning to end, like they're just
yeah.
shooting all the scenes or whatever. Um, I feel like I don't know if there's gonna be Easter Sunday too, but, again, how many times is your mom gonna chastise you for not coming home on Easter Sunday? I've definitely gotten, "But it's Easter." I'm
Yeah.
like, but I don't feel like going to church and hanging out and getting pinched by aunties and titas and whatnot. Um,
Let's get out of here on
I feel like hmm?
let's get out of here on this. In 3 minutes or less, tell people why they should watch Easter Sunday.
Me? You want
Yeah.
me to do a pitch?
Yes.
This whole thing's been a pitch, man. So like, I don't know.
Well, let's
I
use an
think the deal
elevator.
is overall. Watch Easter Sunday because you have watched many movies about, other Asian communities. But the Filipino experience is clearly underrepresented when you look across all of the other Asian communities that, have had kind of the airtime and their day to sort of showcase a lot of a lot of the arts and entertainment outlets that they've been, sort of dominating for a long time. So given that the Filipino community is like what the second largest Asian community in the United States, it's about damn time that a major movie hit the big screen. If you know and love somebody that is Filipino, and you probably do, I hope that you find this movie as hilarious as I thought it was. And if you grew up around Filipinos, maybe it will offer you some insight into why we've grown up the way we've grown up. And that's it
No,
for my end. Raymond, to you.
don't mind if you want to understand Glenda and me a little bit better. This movie will help you do so. You'll be entertained and have fun. It's a very, very funny, very cute family movie that happens to have one of the biggest comedians in America starring right now. So, congratulations and thank you to Joe Coy and everyone that was involved in this movie. If you want to drop Glenda a line, her social media for pretty much everything is at Glenda. Say hello, tell her how much you loved
Just
her.
LinkedIn, Twitter, and SoundCloud.
All that
But
stuff. Yeah, check out her
Glenda
music on
usually
SoundCloud.
works.
We got to start playing music because I play mediocre guitar again, and right now I'm on an
We can
acoustic Red
pass
Hot Chili Peppers kick.
we can pass files back and forth. I will lay the beats for you
Oh,
because I
that's
only like twiddle with buttons now.
That's awesome.
Like,
I still remember you don't play guitar anymore. That makes me sad. You were so good.
I know.
I still remember that
No.
version you did of Peaches.
I mean, now you have like I'm just paving the way. Now you have Olivia Rodrigo, to send you like pop punk songs about boys that she doesn't want to go out with anymore because they suck.
I actually tried.
I've had my time.
I tried the Fender Her signature model.
Oh,
I'm like,
really?
I'm like, this is way too glittery for me to pull off. I think it's so cool that she has her own guitar. And
does she?
Yeah. I'll send you a link to it.
I'm gonna have a looky.
Pretty cool.
Okay, awesome.
So follow
I will
Glenda
count on it.
and follow me at all the social media things you see below. Subscribe, like, and all that good stuff. And I will see you next time. Thanks so much for watching.